And now we are moving on to the official closing panel. And it is a most important topic about the priorities of the upcoming trio presidency of the Council of the EU, the opportunities that lie ahead, but most importantly, keeping our eyes on the future and knowing how to navigate legislation. And those that will help us do so in this panel are Katarzyna SIENKIEWICZ, Director, Department of Cybersecurity of the Ministry of Digital Affairs of Poland, and George MICHAELIDES, Commissioner of Communications, National Regulatory Authority for Electronic Communications, Postal Services and Digital Security from Cyprus. And the moderator of the panel will be our host for the conference, Mr. Dan CIMPEAN, the Director of the Romanian National Cybersecurity Directorate. Thank you very much. The floor is all yours.
So, shall we?
Please take a seat.
Let's sit here in the middle, and thank you so much for accepting to join the panel. Katarzyna, George, have a seat. So, I must acknowledge, and they can witness this, is not scripted. So I'm going to shoot a bunch of super nice questions, and of course we'll try to hear from them back about priorities. Let's not forget this conference, although led by the Romanian Cyber Directorate, it's a conference that has support and involvement from ENISA, from ECCC, so from two very, very key European Union agencies. And I'm very, very happy and proud to mention that cybersecurity, it's, to the best of my knowledge, the only domain in European Union that has actually two European bodies dealing with cyber. And that means a lot of focus, a lot of priority, a lot of attention to what cyber is. Attention coming, of course, not only from European bodies, but very, very, very important from the member states. We are 27. I'm part of, like you guys, I'm part of many governance bodies of those 27 member states. It's not an easy process to get agreements. It's not an easy process to get alignment, to take decisions, and we see it in every single working group, in every single initiative. It's a bit like herding cats, honestly, in some cases, but this is what makes so important that, in particular, member states, when the cybersecurity topics comes into play, and we see cyber everywhere today, on the news, and so on. That's why it's so key and so important that member states speak out their vision, their views on particular topics, whether mainstream or very sensitive. They speak out their vision, which is, again, a national vision, but a national vision that in this group we try to align with each other. We try to get it together. We try to, and we will never be perfect. Will be always disagreements and changes and short-term and short-notice priorities, but nevertheless, this vision is important. So I'm here to hear, and I will try to do my best to facilitate this conversation, to hear from you about the vision of your countries, and in particular, the vision of your country in this bigger and broader European Union context. And I kindly invite you to touch on the most important topics, the most important points that you see coming. And with your permission, I will start with Poland. Allow me to provide you a microphone. Hopefully it's working.
Is it? Oh, yes. Okay, so first of all, clarification, I am by no means a director. Please do not tell my director that I was introduced like that. I'm only a cyber policy specialist. And before jumping into priorities, I want to very briefly set the scene for the Polish perspective. Cyber attacks are on the rise in Poland. They have doubled last year, and we still anticipate 2024 to be a record year in this regard. The threat posed by APT groups and hacktivist groups linked to adversary countries remains high. And on top of that, we have cyber criminals and disruptive use of new technologies. But we are also working on, as many other member states, on upgrading our regulatory framework. These have been mentioned many times before during this conference. We have NIS2, but also Cyber Resilience Act and Cyber Solidarity Act still awaiting adoption. So I believe that even for mature cybersecurity systems, this is a time of change. And we also have a new commission. And when we look at the political guidelines and when we look at mission letters, what we see is that the Commission aims to create a preparedness union, focusing on EU-wide integrated approach on crisis management. But what we do have to bear in mind is that nearly every crisis today has a cyber element. But there's also a call for simplification, lessening of the administrative burden, seeing where the pain points are for the private sector. An action plan for cybersecurity of healthcare providers and hospitals is underway, and we also have the Draghi report underscoring the importance of boosting EU competitiveness. So what do we want to focus on as a Polish presidency? Just three brief points to start. We seek to update and strengthen the EU cyber coordination framework on combating large-scale incidents. Many thanks to Hungarian colleagues for their work on that, and also to Director Lajos Szabo for highlighting our shared objectives in this. Furthermore, we want to focus on strengthening civilian-military cooperation, sharing the best possible solutions and practices in this regard. This is a very difficult conversation to have, but it is one definitely worth having. Furthermore, an retention debate for cybersecurity financing is envisioned. So where we are at, where do we want to go, and how to get there, essentially. So maybe I will stop here and then later jump in with a few other points. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So George, we know each other for a long time, to put it like that. And I must confess and mention that one of my, let's say, close to very much to my heart assignments I had in my previous life was to support Cyprus to build some national level capabilities and to witness, in my opinion, an incredible journey, because what you and the colleagues succeeded to build at national level with very smart investment in terms of resources and time and teams and expertise was really impressive. And of course, the more you grow in maturity at country level, your peers, your colleagues, people in the profession, in the room and around, they have higher and higher expectations. And now we are looking forward already for a few months ahead. And a lot of professionals I discussed, they were wondering, okay, what is Cyprus going to do and what will be their priorities? The same for Poland, the same actually for every single country. And you saw yesterday also the head of the Hungarian National Cyber Authority sharing from their views and how they handle it and what they focus on. So coming back to Cyprus, you already had a lot of great initiatives, and you are one of the countries most active in many of those work groups and governance and boards and so on. How do you see the coming months and years? Where do you think is going to be action and something cool and nice to happen from cybersecurity perspective.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank Dan. I know for many years, he's a very good friend and colleague, for inviting me to this great event this year. Well, I will start from the one things that you mentioned, Dan, about you have 27 countries and you're trying to reach a compromise. That's a very difficult and a challenging thing to do. And I can tell you that even to come up with the list of the priorities, I had a list that I came up today, and about an hour ago I got a new one. That has changed. So you can understand the changing priorities, and you need to appreciate that anything that comes and you see, it has been a long discussion and compromise by everyone to come to that place. So yes, I think it shouldn't be any surprises in the next months. So I guess one of the most important things that we need to address is resilience. And this is something that we feel and we see every day in our lives. So if you don't have resilience, that means you'll be susceptible to an attack as a country. And of course, the standard words that you see in every event on cybersecurity about cooperation. So one of the important matters that is going to be addressed is how we cooperate. We cooperate at the country level, like at the Cyprus diplomacy tools that we have. So, and how can we make the attackers to pay a price? Because this is important too. If an attacker will do something and will not pay a price, it's much more easy rather than if it's scared that it might be caught. So that's on the state level, but also we have the cyclone, which is at the operation level. That needs to be also pushed forward. So how can we address events which is cross-country? So we have to, as Europe is today, maybe you have an electricity company that provides, which is in Germany, and provides services to Austria or to Hungary. But what will happen if you have an attack in Germany, but the impact is in another country? You can imagine how complicated it is to get different groups together. I mean, even in our office, you have different groups from different organizations, and if something goes wrong, you can see that it's hard to get them together. Can you imagine on a different country scale? So that's a very challenging thing, I have to say. And of course, we need to be able to share information. Yes, we have the CISER network, but in terms of tools, are they all interoperable? Can we share freely information? Do we have a common threat intelligence across the union? Maybe not. We are not there yet. So we need to work on that too. So to enhance this capability, I think it's one of the most important things. And well, that's in terms of resilience. Of course, there are other two things, but maybe you want to ask another question before I carry on.
I have a couple of tough questions. Obvious, I got actually yesterday the question, someone asked me, what about NIS2 and what about that regulatory environment? And mind you, and why don't you ask ChatGPT to write those laws for you? Because it will be a lot easier. So allow me to abuse and use the opportunity to have you here to ask you the following tough question. Because obviously we all have a challenge to put forward very good, very strong policy, very good, very nice and applicable national cybersecurity strategies, and also regulatory acts. How easy do you find, comparatively, to promote policy strategies or regulation at national level versus European, based on your info and perspective? Take into account that, as you mentioned, you work with people, and you need the mix of legal mindset and cyber experts and consultation with the businesses, with the colleagues, and with the peers, those 27 countries. So based on your experience, where it was more challenging to do herding cats, as I said, 27 member states, or to craft strategies, policies, regulation at national level, and if one of them is easier than the other, why? Why do you think it makes the difference? So, Katarzyna.
Yes, I would say it's equally challenging on the national level and on the EU level. Compromises are difficult, and this is also why we need to focus on enhancing cooperation, but in a very pragmatic way. We have so many different stakeholders in the cybersecurity ecosystem. We have Assessors Network, we have EU Cyclone, we have NCC's network, we have ECCG, and kind of connecting all of that, and this is the EU level. And on the national level, you have different ministries and different departments, and even collaborating within your own ministry is a challenge sometimes. But what I do believe has been said before here and applies to all of the spheres is that, first of all, awareness. Awareness helps push strategies, helps push policies, and then a clear focus on implementing them helps us move forward. And another thing, which is also going to be one of the Polish presidency priorities, is abolishing and breaking the silos and bridging these communities together. This is a challenging and ambitious task, but we do want to look into it and see how we can pragmatically move forward and make sure that we are using our capabilities, our structures to the best extent possible.
Well, definitely to reach a compromise in 27 countries, it's not an easy thing. And I can tell you, I'm also part of BEREC, the Board of Regulators for Telecoms, to come up with something, even to an answer to the Commission. You can imagine how many times you have to go around, and then you change a word, and then you put a comma. It's unbelievable. Nevertheless, we are ended up with a result the same as we have now, so there is a result. But as you will see with the legislation, it's generic many times, which means it leaves space for the countries to apply. And when you leave this space for the countries to apply, that means there is no harmonization across the countries. And I think in 1 minute. So one of the things that is going to be in this presidency is that we try to harmonize things. So make sure that NIS2 will implement it roughly around the same way in all the countries, which is a very important thing.
Thank you. Because my colleague, the timekeeper, he's our biggest enemy, of course. Now, exactly when we warm up and we started shooting questions and answers. One very brief and short question to you, 60 seconds. If you look at the technology landscape, technology evolution on one hand, and on the other hand, let me put it very bluntly, geopolitics or economics, because these were challenges that were mentioned today and yesterday. Where from and what kind of challenge and priority you anticipate it may come during the presidency that will come? From what direction? What kind of topic you believe may pop up and be high on the agenda of the European Union or eventually at national level?
Myself?
Please.
Well, the one that really comes to my mind might not be discussed in this presidency, but it will definitely affect and has also been discussed correctly in this in this event, is the AI and how AI will impact particularly cybersecurity, because it could also be a tool, but also could also be a tool for the attackers. And I'm not sure whether we have the adequate legislative tools to fight that, nor the knowledge. So as far I am concerned, that's what worries me most.
Thank you.
And for me, I will not point out one thing, because I think that what will be challenging is the uncertainty. So we will definitely have something popping out and surprising us, and then reacting to that will be a challenge, essentially. Because with the AI, of course, we are maybe missing the legislative response or implemented legislative response, but always, like with the pandemic, we all knew that it might come, but we didn't expect it. So I do believe that it will be something that all of our great minds are not thinking about right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, I agree with both of you. I also believe that our next priorities and challenges in the same time will come from a mix of technologies, technology related, and AI is the best example. And as you mentioned, the changes in the overall landscape with topics and domains that we cannot anticipate. And honestly, I think as countries and as community, as European Union, we become better and better at this. It's still way to go. We are not there yet. Still a lot of processes, a lot of decisions take, in the opinion of businesses, of experts, too much time. But as it was already mentioned by both of you, and thank you so much for saying it so clear and loud, it takes time. If you want to get it right at European level, at national level, you don't have to rush. We don't want to do mistakes. And at the end of the day, whatever work in cyber is done, we have to do it for 500 million inhabitants, more or less, the entire European Union, for 27 countries with different mindsets, different cultures that all come together. And it's particularly important that we come together and we work together, in particular in cybersecurity. Thank you so much again, and we'll move on to the closing. Thank you.